The way a writer can bring their own unique voice into a story, into a movie or a TV show, is to not worry about it, because they can't help it. It's going to happen anyway, because the way you write is going to be based on everything that you've lived in life. And that doesn't only mean your interpersonal experiences, it means every piece of art you've consumed, every single anecdote that a relative or a friend told you. All of that contributes to your own perspective. And as long as you are true to that perspective, you're going to be able to create something that's unique. I've often threatened my students with saying what I've thought of doing for this class is assigning you a topic, assigning you a one-liner, because I know that every single person in this class will not only come up with something that's completely different, but the vast majority of you will come up with a different genre that I might not even have known was there. Like, for example, let me just say, throwing out a really wild one, a group of students realize their teacher is insane, but the teacher happens to be popular. What genre is that? It can definitely be a comedy. It can definitely be a romantic comedy among the students. It can definitely be a detective story. It can definitely be almost anything. It could even go into being a musical, and or a Jean-Luc Godard style art film. So there's no difference other than what your approach is. And for example, my approach, as having been an Asian who lived part of the time in Japan, I'm going to have a slightly different view of American culture than if I'd always lived in the US straight through. But the fact that I was a teenager when we moved to Japan, I had that sense of alienation and isolation, but I came to love the country and understand it, even though it was hard at first because I wasn't in any group. Couldn't be in the Japanese group, I didn't speak the language. Couldn't be in the American group because I was Japanese. So there's certain things that I learned during that time that if I'm writing a story now, even if it has no Asian character in it, is going to have inadvertently a little bit of Japanese culture in the way it's written, because the Far East, being pantheistic in nature, doesn't really follow three-part dramatic structure. And even though I know three-part dramatic structure and I teach it, I've also been immersed in a society that didn't have three-part dramatic structure in any of the movies or TV shows, at least smoothly. That it would always be like a second language. When you see an Asian movie with solid three-part dramatic structure, it's usually almost like it's someone who's really good with the language but not quite 100% proficient. It's that way, and that's how I would approach it. So if I'm doing a small town story about someone who's in Iowa and who's going to be going off to a big college or is going to be moving to the big city, I'm going to bring a little bit of a different perspective, and that's what every writer does. It doesn't matter where you're from, you're going to have that store. For example, you grow up in the most Valencia-type neighborhood, the white picket fence, the nice big house, the good schools, all of that. Every single house has a different story. And every single house has a different perspective.